you guys for giving us this opportunity. Since we found out we have 2 more minutes than we thought, we really appreciated the whole experience. Like, I think everybody here could probably say that. We've kind of fallen in love with the brand a little bit. I've started using the Spry gum, and it's cured my dry mouth. I didn't know that could happen, and it's awesome. So this is something we care about. But we're going to start by talking about these 3 brands here. Well, that's Starbucks, that's Tickle Me Elmo, and that's Viagra. Do you guys have any idea what those have in common? No? Nothing? Okay. They were all made huge with publicity, not advertising. So these, Starbucks, for example, in 1987 was doing $1 million in sales every year. In 1997, 10 years later, they were doing $1 billion in sales every year. And they did $10 million of advertising over that whole 10 years. But they did a ton of publicity. It was all word of mouth. And so the reason we show you this is that the case asks for a lot of advertising, but we wanted to talk publicity as well. But let me show you what we're going to do here. We've got some research we want to go over, some packaging things, advertising, digital marketing, publicity, and then we want to talk a little bit about execution as well. I'll start right ahead with research here. You guys got those giant packets that we put together there. We're going to go over a lot of these things kind of quickly, but there is a lot of information in there. And we didn't want to cheapen. We know $4 million is a lot of money to spend, and we like your brand, you like your brand. We want to be very meticulous about everything we're going to do. So getting into research a little bit here, we did some focus groups, some primary research, and some surveys here. And based on the case, obviously we knew the whole market is at $326 million for nasal sprays. The big piece that we noticed, though, is that we saw through our research, you guys were getting about the same brand awareness as the Neomeds. And because they're doing about 3.5% of the market, we're assuming that you guys probably do about the same amount of sales. So our guess with a 3 to 5% share is that it's $10 to $16 million a year in nasal sprays. So when you see some calculations here, it's going to be based on that as our baseline. The caveat, though, is that you guys are in pharmacies. That's the biggest piece. 66% of nasal sprays are sold in pharmacies. And we know we heard on the call that you guys tried to get in if you had issues. We still think that's what has to be focused on. And advertising might not do it, but publicity might. And let me just kind of go over the numbers here. If we were to spend $4 million on advertising, according to Nielsen, the average return on investment for print advertising is 74%. And so if you spend $4 million, you make $3 million. So that's a good amount of money. If you guys can make an extra $3 million, that's great. But if all we did from what we do is get you onto the store shelves in pharmacies, we're thinking if you can just get that 3% to 5% share of the 66% of sales that are happening in pharmacies, you can get $6.5 to $10 million more in incremental sales just by getting on the shelves. And we know it's expensive to be on the shelves. We asked around, the average amount was about $1.5 to $2 million to get that shelf space, to get that slotting. But that still pays for itself, but then you're there forever. You get that slot space, you sell some things, you're going to be there. So we want to focus on getting you into Walgreens. We also did that, we did some of that survey research. The young adults we surveyed, this was a big piece of the pie that you guys are targeting right now. We know you're targeting the moms of 35-year-olds with a little more money, but what we found in the research is that 28% of cold and sinus sales are coming from this market or from this segment, and it's bigger than the one that you guys are targeting now. And so if we can start getting it to their hands and we get you that 3% share, that's a $2.7 million or it's $2.75 million worth of sale of nasal sprays. We can start getting into their hands. That's 28% of the market, 3% of that share. We also obviously surveyed moms. This is where we got kind of a feel for what moms are thinking. We were to ask them what were their hot buttons, what do they care about, and all of those things that we kind of discovered from that, you're going to see in all of our advertising and all of our publicity campaigns and basically everything. We tied that into everything else. And I'm just going to show you guys the packaging here. The packaging, that's the old packaging on the left. What we went with on the right there was based on focus groups and research. So the focus groups kind of told us they liked the two-color, the two-tone. We used a lot more of the words that the survey research, we talked to 161 parents. They liked these keywords that are on this box better. And we put these up against each other in a survey. The one on the right is doing about 75%. They prefer that one 75%, this one over here 25%. So I think switching to those keywords is just based right directly off of the search research.
So that was a lot of information, a lot of research. Now, what I'm going to touch on a little bit is the advertising. So Derek mentioned how publicity is what builds a brand, and advertising is also important. It maintains a brand. So I'll let some of the ads speak for themselves. This is the Good Day ad, and this is Sam on a good day. He's kind of throwing a bit of a temper tantrum, and if this is him on a good day, imagine him on a bad day with sinus infections or sinus congestion. And next is the sick day. Moms don't get sick days, dads don't get sick days. You can't alleviate your responsibility of being a parent if you're sick. So this is some really captivating imagery tied with compliant, FDA compliant copy that is illustrating how, although because a parent doesn't get a sick day, they need to use Xlear nasal spray to help keep them healthy. The We've Got Your Nose campaign, one of our favorites. It's the universal symbol for when a parent takes their child's nose is they've got their thumb through the finger right there, and we have a doctor with the thumb through the finger. It's kind of like how we've got your back, we've got your nose. We want people, when they think of a nose and nasal health, they think Xlear. The Booger Sucker campaign. A lot of parents in the room might know the pain of using this barbaric instrument to suck boogers out of their child's nose before bed because they're afraid that their child won't be able to breathe in the middle of the night. So the Booger Sucker is something that we found in focus groups was a huge pain, and we want to solve that pain by letting them know that the kids' Xlear can help prevent the problem of having that congestion before bed. The Clear Your Nose campaign. This, again, is about being champions of the nose. No one, when they think of a nose, they don't think of a brand. They just think of a nose. So when you think brush your teeth, you might think of Colgate or something like that. When you think wash your hands, you might think of Dove soap. But clearing your nose, you make clear the verb and make clearing your nose with the Xlear brand connected.
Okay, so as far as digital recommendations go, we really wanted to focus on social media, SEO, and then paid search recommendations. So we have our social media campaign really works to relate to our target market. We have, so our first one, what's your smell? We're really focusing on these emotions of being able to empathize with these people, really see how they feel. So what's your smell? It focuses on reminiscing on these times, when you love certain smells. For me, it's that, the mowed grass, or just whatever it may be. They take a picture or tell their story on our social media outlets, and then we feature the best one each week on the Xlear page, as well as doing social media giveaways as well. The second one is every single parent can relate with their kid bathing in peanut butter on the floor. And so really that Need a Sick Day campaign, what it captures, it's empathizing with moms at different shots of their home in disarray, just posting a humorous post on Instagram or Facebook telling that story and hashtagging it Need a Sick Day. We'll do, again, featuring those things on the Xlear Facebook page, as well as giving away, doing giveaways to the best ones. Now, as far as SEO goes, we have Derek that's kind of talked about the packaging. And the keywords in the packaging are really, the keys to SEO. And you guys mentioned how you've worked with an SEO company in the past. So really just making minor tweaks to the keywords, clarifying nasal mist, things on the packaging as well, just to rank for those. In your document, there's actually a list of your keywords and where you're currently ranked with them. And most of them are actually not even on the first page. And so there's some work to be done there. As far as paid search goes, so we have up here, you see how we have, a general search like good nasal spray. Your distributors are really doing a great job, owning that area. So Vitamin Shop, those kind of companies. But what we really found is that when you search for something like a specific brand, that's the only thing that comes up. And so throwing a Xlear ad on something, being able to steal some of that traffic and bringing it back into your site can help educate people as well as get some of those sales.
Okay, here's the most exciting part of all of our presentation, right? We mentioned that publicity really is the biggest aspect that we think will differentiate everybody. What we want to do, in May, we have National Asthma and Allergy Awareness Month. We propose to wrap a bus. We're going to go across the country, 12 different cities. We are going to visit fun centers, bring families, invite them all, bring the the bloggers, the press, doctors, anybody and everybody. We want everybody to have an enjoyable experience, and we're going to make sure that people associate Xlear with nasal health and with the nose. Also, we're going to be on campuses in September, back to school. We want to do a giveaway where students may win full tuition for 1 semester. And the way they do that is by shooting a clear ball to a huge, big old hoop, and then get a lot of publicity around that. Again, this is really going to differentiate Xlear and have them always remember it and associate Xlear with the nose.
So execution a little bit. So we talked about all the things we want to do. We want to go over what that's actually going to cost. So just to start here, those 2 publicity campaigns, we think it'll cost around $1 million. And that $1 million, we've broken it out in the document a little bit. We think that we'll be able to do a lot of giveaways with that kind of thing. So we're going to get a lot of people involved. It's going to cost a lot of money to get people coming to these fun centers. But while the kids are playing, the adults get to talk to us, and they're going to tell us about it later. We've got magazine advertising as well. We've got about 12 magazines in there picked out. Some of them are regionally based around the areas we think we want to do with publicity. The social media campaign, we want to take $75,000 and associate that directly with the social media campaign. Blog ads, we know you guys are doing a lot of that already. We want to keep it going, and I think we can incorporate a lot of the ads that we've put together. Direct mail, $500,000. That'll get us into 1.2 million homes based on the numbers we've got in the packet there. And we want to focus in those areas around where we're doing publicity again. Just start in one area and make it bigger. PPC text displays, everything that Neil talked about should cost about $100,000 over the course of the year. And that comes up to $3,925,000. Just to kind of go over again what we talked about here. You guys asked for the hammer. When you ask for advertising in that case, we think you asked for the hammer. You can only do so much with the hammer by itself. We think publicity is the nail. If you let us do this publicity, or if you do this publicity stuff first, and then you follow it up with the hammer of advertising, you're gonna go a long way. And this isn't just our idea. This is what marketing experts have been saying for 50 years, but brands don't listen to them. That last $75,000 of the budget that you gave us, we think that would be best spent on us. We have fallen in love with the brand. We love the publicity campaigns that we put together, and we will go out and do those publicity campaigns for $75,000, and it's going to connect with people, and people will be talking about the brand. And now you can open your packets. You guys have any questions at all?
Tell me about, so you had the hashtag need a sick day. In my mind, that contrasts a little bit with parents don't get a sick day. And Xlear makes it so you can keep going without taking a sick day. So I just was wondering, there's a little bit of
a disconnect. Well, the sick day isn't in reference to like a day that you get to lay sick in bed. It's like a sick day from work, where like sometimes if you work in a company and you like take sick leave, but you're not actually sick, you just go golfing or something like that. So it's like your responsibility as a parent. You don't normally get to just like, I'm done being mom today, so I'm just gonna go lay in bed. Like if your child has peanut butter all over their face and body in the kitchen, you have to clean it up, and it's like you walk in on that mess, you pull out your phone, take a picture, it's like I could use a sick day. Like I could use a day away from it. So hashtag need a sick day is conveying that message of like, I mean, I don't get one, but I need one. Like I need a day to myself, but it's a way that like parents can connect with us and each other that way.
how many hours do you think you put into this immense packet you put in front of you?
I put roughly 100 in over the last month.
I'd say combined, I would say
300 to 400 hours.
350 hours
Yeah.
total.
So he
I have the least amount of hours.
There's creative energy that you can't like quantify with that.
So, like, I will text these guys at 6 in the morning, hey, I got our new idea, and I just can't seem to do it.
Tell me about price. Did you look into price? How's Carlos their price?
We did, and in our advertising, and we have a little bit in there in the research. Basically, what we found, we basically gave people what do you expect to pay, what's your low end and what's your high end, and I would say, I don't want to give a real number there, but it was probably around 70% that were in that price range there, especially if you look at the smaller bottles that are $6.90, like those everybody was within. The $13 bottle was a little high. Even students though, the student market, 67% of them said that they would be willing, they were likely or more, or very likely to purchase a nasal spray if it would get rid of their sinus issues that they experience every year. And even them, that $5.99, $6.99 range is absolutely fine with them. I don't think we had anybody say no unless they weren't going to buy nasal
So
spray.
if that's the case, would you raise price?
I don't think I would, because we're not in the market yet. We obviously would want to see it happen first and see what people, see what people do first.
You promoted the publicity part of it. I guess I wanted to see more in that area, because you think that's really strong. I mean, the bus campaign, is that, it's more of an indirect, you're sponsoring an event, is that what I take to be the difference between that and advertising?
Yeah, so the idea is, initially we were thinking it was March, and then we realized that it was May. And so the idea was we're going to have to go right away. But what we want to do is get on the radio, get in newspapers in an area, and reach out to press, doctors, pharmacists, whoever in the area, and say, hey, we're going to be out there. We're not trying to, obviously we have a product, but come on out, let your kids have fun. If there's any time, come speak to us. We're gonna, most of these places, we contacted Boondocks in Denver, and it was like $23 a kid to have them come out. We could easily bring 300, 400, 500 kids in and talk to all of the adults who aren't playing and get their feelings of nasal spray. And if it's press, and if it's doctors, and it's pharmacists, they're gonna have some questions, and we're gonna be able to answer those for them. And then, like we assume, they would probably talk about it. They're gonna take some photos, we're gonna have some giveaways, we're gonna give away Xlear. There may be like a little photo booth set up to where they can take their pictures and post. And we're not gonna push it, we're not gonna require anybody to do anything, but when you don't require people to do things, they're more likely they're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna post this kind of on my own accord. And based on the research, or based on the case competition, it sounds to me like you guys love to have these pharmacists and doctors and things promote the brand themselves. And so they've never heard of it, now they've heard of it, they can try it and then see how it works, and I'm sure they'll Google it as well.
So it's kind of event oriented, doing events in a region, and then move from there to another region.
And that's the nice thing about publicity is you don't have to reach everybody in publicity. You just have to reach a small amount of influencers who are going to tell everybody, and it does the same or maybe even more amount of work. In fact, I showed you that 74% return on investment that Nielsen says for print advertising. In that same study, they say roughly 75, 76% on PR campaigns. So they expect to get the same amount of returns. So not only is this stuff going to help you get into CVS, in fact, we called the VP of merchandising at CVS. Couldn't talk to her, she's a little too important, but her executive assistant probably took about 10 minutes with me, and she said, I can't give you our secret sauce, unfortunately, but as a student, I can say, based on what you were saying, what kind of things you're talking about, this stuff is valuable to us. This is the kind of thing that we're looking for, on top of the nuts and bolts of what kind of distribution you can already do. So it was definitely good to